At Elimination Chamber 2025, when John Cena turned heel, he shocked the wrestling world. The impossible had finally happened. We had witnessed arguably the greatest babyface in the history of not just WWE, but professional wrestling turn heel for the first time in 2 decades. He had turned his back on the fans. He had turned his back on the side of the Angels. And he had finally leaned into the desires of WWE fans everywhere. For years, the John Cena heel turn was this mythical thing that everybody wanted. But now, after just a couple of months, it is arguably the biggest fumble in WWE history. This once great idea, the theory, the fantasy bookings, all of that is now out the window. And there is only one thing left to do, and that's talk about why John Cena's heel turn was the worst in pro wrestling history. Before we get into that, though, be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Let's dive right in. So, as I said before, the John Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber is one of the biggest moments in WWE history. You not only had this big moment of John Cena turning on Cody Rhodes and finally aligning with The Rock, someone who was for years a bitter enemy of John Cena, but you also had all of this happening in the midst of John Cena's final run. Last year, John Cena had announced it would be his final year in wrestling in 2025, and he was planning to go out with a bang, and boy, did it start off that way. When he initially turned heel, fans everywhere rejoiced. This is the thing that people had wanted. When John Cena was at his height as a babyface, people were talking about this in 2010. They wanted him to turn heel. They wanted a change, a shift in the John Cena character, because what he had been doing was pretty stale and bland, and it was for good reason, that desire, because it was true. Many of the criticisms that fans had of John Cena basically being the same character, doing the same stuff week in, week out, was getting too old, and it was boring. It was really boring. Trust me, if you were watching back in 2010, you were not getting hyped for Raw like you were in the years before, because at least like John Cena, when he first turned babyface back in 2005, he still had the feeling that he was an violent and unstoppable monster at times. He had gone to wars with the likes of Umaga. He had gone to wars with the likes of JBL, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and you felt like he was still a threat that could have a next gear in him. But as the years went on, that threat, that gear kind of shifted. And unfortunately, that led to a lot of resentment. And the calls for Cena to turn heel grew louder and louder. And that moment at Elimination Chamber, for many fans who went through the Super Cena years, for many fans who went through the years of John Cena coming out on Monday Night Raw and cutting some of the most just baffling promos you have ever heard. Loser. For those who may remember that, it was a moment of catharsis. It was a moment of realization of this dream. People were fantasy booking the idea of John Cena turning heel during his final run and what it could be. But the one thing you heard from everyone was that there was no way WWE could mess it up. It was the most foolproof thing that they could have ever done. And somehow, some way, they found a way to fuck up the biggest heel turn in wrestling. And unfortunately, all of the things that I just mentioned about John Cena's character, all of the things that I just mentioned about why fans hated it back in 2010 and there was that growing resentment, are many of the same reasons why I truly believe this is the worst heel turn in wrestling history. You not only have the fact that Cena, after turning heel, has essentially come out and done the same exact thing week in, week out. Show up, look at the crowd, cut a "you people" promo in the stalest, blandest, and most boring way possible, and then leave. Then you have the aspect of it that pisses everyone off, and that is the motivation. The motivation that WWE gave John Cena to turn heel as a character fucking sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm sorry, language, whatever. It fucking sucks. It blows. It is bad. It is bad television. Because the motivation initially was Cena coming out there saying that he turned heel because he finally saw the fans for what they are and he broke. That was the story they initially had leaned into. However, in the months following that initial explanation, we've got no build to it. We have no build on this idea of John Cena joining The Rock, for example, the biggest star in the world, The Rock. John Cena turned heel with him. It wasn't just Travis Scott over there. It was The Rock too. And yet there's no explanation of why John Cena and The Rock, this amazing duo of foes, turned into an alliance. There's no reason why WWE gave as far as why they are together. There's no reason why John Cena still continues, even though he's getting cheered and probably has been getting cheered for the past couple of years, which again is a bit of a plot hole in all this, but regardless, he's getting cheered, yet he still comes out and says the fans are disrespecting him. Okay, maybe this is years of buildup. I can get that. The motivations still are not clear. He says he's trying to ruin wrestling. Well, if the Death Rider storyline was supposed to be some meta about AEW needing to be saved from a locker room cancer, well, this is WWE's version of that, because they're getting pretty close to ruining wrestling with this heel turn. So you have all of the elements that made the original John Cena character that many fans resented a bad thing. The boring promos, the lack of motivation, the lack of character development, and you pile that on top of feuds that just feel meaningless, even though they're against big people, even though they're against people that make logical sense for John Cena. Look at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena was a match you did not need any build for. That match for the World Championship in John Cena's last WrestleMania sells itself. But you could have tried, WWE, you could have tried a little bit to sell that match, yet they didn't, and they just coasted. Then in the follow-up feud with Randy Orton, so much could have been made about this. You have the final time Randy Orton will face John Cena. These two who came up in WWE together. These two whose careers paralleled each other like no other in WWE history. These two stars of this generation for the final time. And it felt like WWE just said, all right, Orton, go hit the RKO out of nowhere. No promo time, no telling a story, no telling a narrative, no callbacks to anything. Just coasting. And then you get the thing that kind of hurt me the most, because I thought this was a pretty much a slam dunk for WWE. R-Truth. And I am not going to go on about how WWE should not have let go of R-Truth or whatever. That's for a different video. But R-Truth versus John Cena at Saturday night's main event should have been 1,000 times more fun than it was. Out of all of the things that I was looking forward to from John Cena's final run, this was probably the one that was going to bring a smile to my face more than anything. Because I knew at some point a heel John Cena and R-Truth were going to do magic together. And I thought maybe, okay, you do it like R-Truth comes out and he helps John Cena win, and he still thinks in his head John Cena's the good guy, but John Cena's manipulating him because he's a bad guy. And then after a while, maybe he turns on R-Truth. Okay, that would have been a good build. Hell, John Cena coming out there, toying with R-Truth for a couple of weeks. Maybe even 2 weeks. 2 weeks would have been great. No. Okay, maybe we get a segment where R-Truth and John Cena have a back and forth Maybe call back to the good times of 2011 and they're doing the whole thing. R-Truth is smoking a cigarette. Who knows? But no. Instead, R-Truth goes up to John Cena, says, "I'm your biggest fan," at a press conference. And John Cena proceeds to give him an attitude adjustment through a table. And boom, we got a match. Coasting. Laziness. Boring. Bland. All of these things describe exactly what this John Cena heel turn has been. And it's unfortunate because this is the thing that fans have been talking about, have been discussing, have been fantasy booking for the better part of a decade. And the way that WWE just did not care about this storyline is emblematic of a lot of things that I think are wrong with the company's direction right now. WWE was supposed to be the place that you might not have gotten the best wrestling or whatever, or the best wrestlers may not have made it, but you certainly used to get good storylines. You certainly used to get storylines that had meaning, and in the big moments that you knew mattered, in the big moments that you knew were going to cook, you at least were left with this feeling of satisfaction. All of that has been ripped away from fans throughout this John Cena heel run. And it's not because I don't think John Cena can still go out there and cut great promos. Say what you want about his wrestling. On the microphone, I still believe John Cena has all the talent in the world. But as far as the way WWE is booking it, it has been bad. And you want to talk about the other worst heel turns in WWE? Austin was really bad. You have the heel turn of, the initial heel turn of Vince McMahon, which we don't got to talk about, but it was not great. The JR heel turn, there's a few, but regardless, there were a lot of heel turns in WWE history that did not pan out in the way that we all wanted them to. But at the same time, given the stature of this moment, given how people had built it up for over a decade, given the fact that people had fantasy booked this to oblivion, and given the fact that it happened in John Cena's final year, there's no callbacks, there's no retakes, there's no redos. This is it. This truly is the worst heel turn in wrestling history. I hate to say it. I wanted this to work as much as anybody, and I'm still baffled to this day that it didn't. And it is something that I think wrestling historians and fans are going to be talking about for a very long time to come. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about John Cena's heel turn? Is it absolutely cooked, or is there still a way to save, arguably, the worst heel turn in wrestling history? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Also, be sure to smash that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.